Story 1. I am in love with someone who will never love me back. Until I get over that, no one else stands a chance. Story 2. Happiness seems unattainable. Most of the time, I feel numb with occasional moments of joy. Story 3. Because I am a failure. Deep down, I know I must study, yet I always chase the highs and instant gratification. This breeds procrastination, and only the day before the exam do I study properly. However, due to the sheer stress on that day, I end up engaging in escapism, turning to social media, video platforms, or even video games. This worsens my mental health because I am not studying after not having done so for months. What am I doing? Why, knowing this whole scenario keeps happening, do I still choose to follow the path of weak willpower and lack of drive to study, just to chase a fleeting high? It is actually ridiculous. Story 4. I am single, 36 years old, still living at home trying to save money, and I have just been informed that I have a low egg reserve. The life I envisioned and looked forward to is gone. Now I must adapt and accept a future I never imagined. Childless, single, and possibly living in a small apartment alone if I can eventually afford it. I always pictured myself as a mother and wife in a noisy home filled with family. Story 5. I have a job I dislike intensely but cannot afford to leave yet. I hope that I can find a way to move on this week or next. In addition, I am dealing with chronic pain from a near-fatal car accident. Story 6. The mother of my children ended the marriage of one of their classmates' parents. Then she told everyone I was abusing her to convince her father to give her a car, allowing her to live with the man whose family she disrupted. I will be happy when they break up or when one of them is no longer in the picture. Story 7. My mother made me feel like I was never good enough. She even told me to my face that she was never proud of me when I was young. I am now 40 and realize that the lack of confidence this created has really affected my life. I am a decent-looking man who is single, has few friends, and is working in a career I dislike. This has made me bitter and impatient, sometimes even unbearable. I long for someone to love and for someone to love me, but I don't even look. I will probably die alone. Anyway, I should talk to a therapist. Story 8. Because I know I should be. Everything is right, all of the odds are in my favor, but I just don't feel all right. Story 9. No matter how much I improve my life, I still can't find it in myself to be happy. I'm living with my girlfriend on our own, holding a decent job, yet life feels so pointless and empty. I find myself thinking about ending it almost every day. Story 10. The fact that I have to work until I am 97 so I can live comfortably for about 11 minutes is a little upsetting. Story 11. No job, no money, and living with parents at 25. No romantic opportunities in a conservative state. A dead-end town with limited prospects. 2 degrees that feel useless. I have finally figured out what I want to do, but I have no way to pursue it. It all feels pointless. Story 12. Oh, I wish I had any indication of why I'm feeling this way. It's gradually happened, and I would love to try to fix it, but I just don't know where to start. Maybe it's being overwhelmed with too many life options or possibilities. Perhaps it's the past that I haven't gotten over or the lack of a promising future. I feel like my life is my own instead of devoting it to someone else, selling my time for a standard job. All I know is that, somewhere along the way, it became harder to enjoy the day. Story 13. I stayed in a job for 2 years that I hated because everyone said I had a dream job and assumed it would get better. Didn't. I fell into burnout. Now I'm slowly recovering. I will never do anything like that to myself again. If I don't like something, I can stop. Story 14. My ex has been stalking me for 4 years, emotionally and mentally abusing me. I thought he would have found another girlfriend by now. Just wearing me out. Story 15. I struggle with managing my finances, and most people I try to befriend seem to dislike me after getting to know me. Story 16. I cannot imagine any scenario that is not filled with sin that would cause happiness. Life is suffering. Story 17. I cannot seem to find anything that makes me happy. Year after year, things appear to get worse. Being alone in the abundance of nature and the countryside used to bring me joy, but now I only see it degrading and contracting, and it fills me with dread. Story 18. I like to think I am as happy as I can be for a person with mental illness who is over $100,000 in debt. Story 19. I am not there all the time, but after a significant amount of therapy, I am happier than I ever thought possible. Even if this is the highest level of happiness I can achieve, it is enough for me. Story 20. Comes in waves. To be honest, it's all really financially related. I'm 30 and still working the same semi-minimum wage job since before the pandemic. I still live in the same town I grew up in and am technically reliant on my parents for support. I wish I had more money. I wish I could afford a studio apartment. I wish I had a caring girlfriend. My life is good. I have interesting hobbies, a huge group of friends, and my calendar has plans and hangouts sprinkled throughout the month. I am blessed in many ways, but I can't help but feel incredibly stuck. The fact that I've felt this way throughout all of my 20s makes it even harder. Story 21. I lack the ability to initiate a long-lasting feud between opposing, hypocritical internet users. Story 22. I can't sleep, and it's driving me crazy. All other problems are trivial in comparison. Healthy individuals, especially those with good mental health, often say that health is the most important, but they don't truly understand it, which leads them to seek reasons to be unhappy. Story 23. Burnout, 2 small children, one with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder who demands a lot. Life is constantly rushing from place to place and doing nothing well. Any time to myself starts late in the evening. Since the burnout, my immune system has weakened and I suffer migraines 2 to 3 times a week. I'm fortunate during periods when I don't count insomnia among my challenges. Friends and family complain to me about never making it to the gym, but I don't even have time for a lunch break during my workday due to the effort of keeping the family afloat. I've been dealing with a fever for the last week that I caught from my toddler. It will get better with time, but feeling content and in control is rare and fleeting. Story 24. I spend most of my day at a job I dislike and commuting to it. Every job I try, I find unsatisfactory, which upsets me. I will be making a change soon and putting my degree on the back burner. Story 25. I dislike my job and have no chance of an alternative at the moment. I am working on improving my situation for the future, with only my master's thesis left to complete. Until then, it feels like pure hell, filled with anxiety and depression constantly. Story 26. I question everything that went wrong in my life due to the poor decisions made by people close to me. The fact that things are mostly fine now somehow makes it worse. Story 27. The Army. I was filled with that enthusiastic propaganda as a child, and it was my dream to be a soldier. However, I dislike it. I am going to cook in the Mojave at the end of the month for 19 days, followed by my second mobilization in 4 years in August. It is a high tempo as a reservist in a supposed peacetime army. At least this mobilization is stateside, but I'm missing 90% of the wedding ceremony planning for my wife and me. We got married at the magistrate and are having our ceremony afterwards. Don't get me wrong. I understand this is what I signed up for, but it triggers my general anxiety disorder to an unbearable degree, even though I'm medicated. I dislike every single second spent on military tasks. I hope to be out in a year or so, but the Army has the final say. They can force officers to stay in. I'm ready to leave. I love my wife. I love our house, our cat, and our friends. But the Army and the stress that comes with it hang over me like a dark cloud I can't chase away. Story 28. It's Mother's Day, and I have to call my mom. Whenever I have anxiety episodes, it is her voice in my head. Story 29. Work stress involves thoughts about what needs to be done, when I will find time to do it, and how long I can continue this cycle. Story 30. Because I am 35 and still have no goals, I have no idea what I am supposed to do. I am uncertain how I can be successful without any ambitions. Story 31. I have no friends in real life. I rarely see my family. I struggle with mental illness and feel lonely. I feel like I am missing out on life. Story 32. I have been experiencing chronic pain since I was 15 years old, and I am now 37. I live with my parents because I am unable to work, and I rarely leave my bed. Story 33. It is Mother's Day, and it reminds me that I will never be one due to fertility issues. It is painful every day, but today is the worst day of all. Story 34. I have drug dealers as neighbors. I dislike my current boss, but I plan to transfer to a new location and hopefully buy a house. Story 35. I don't have friends or family where I currently live. I love it here, but I feel so lonely and don't want to move back to a state I never liked. It feels like a constant internal struggle. Story 36. When I'm unhappy, it is usually because I have neglected to take responsibility for something that is not good for me. Story 37. True happiness consists of fleeting moments in life. It resembles a drug that provides a temporary high. You pursue it only to discover that it cannot be sustained. If you have everything and still are not happy, perhaps happiness does not exist within you. You may be chasing something that is not real, something you can never truly attain. Story 38. I am not unhappy, but I am becoming weary of merely being content and would like to thrive. The biggest barrier to thriving is the need to pay ongoing bills and being dependent on money, especially with the high cost of living right now. The constant pressure to generate income restricts my freedom, and greater freedom would likely make me happier. Story 39. Living in Turkey is challenging. I am still living with my parents. Even if I found a job, the economy is so bad that I cannot move because we are supporting each other while living in a rental house. My family has almost no savings. My dad is difficult to deal with while my mom deserves the world. I have not had a stable job since I was 25. I am now 30, and I feel guilty about that. I want to move to Europe, but I feel unqualified as I only have a degree in English linguistics. On top of everything that is happening in Turkey, there are now efforts to outlaw LGBTQIA individuals like me. Living in Turkey is incredibly frustrating, and it feels as if life is trying to bring me down from all angles. If my dad were not so self-centered, perhaps I could find some happiness at home, but that is not happening due to the constant arguments between my parents. I still do not feel like an actual adult. Story 40. I worry about the past too much. I worried so much that it caused a flare-up. I know I cannot change things, but I still worry. Story 41. My employer would have me as a slave if it were legal. This administration is reducing workers' rights. Story 42. No money means I cannot do most of the things that I enjoy or want to do, go to the places I want to go, or buy the things I need to feel comfortable. Being poor is just another form of prison. Story 43. I'm broke and lonely. I want a purpose and direction in life. I just went to a rave, and now my ears are ringing, so I can't go to bed. Story 44. I work a job I don't like and cannot find one that I do like, despite being qualified. I do not have a degree, but I do have experience. I cannot afford to go back to school or enroll in a certificate program. I also made some purchasing mistakes due to depression, which added to my debt. It's a difficult situation. I really wish a law firm would hire me. Story 45. I have no money, parents, or understanding friends. My parents are alive, but after their divorce shortly after my birth, they started new families. I lived with my dad throughout my childhood and into adulthood, but our relationship deteriorated, and now I live alone. My childhood was challenging. Now, as I enter my 30s, I am barely surviving and not happy. Everything feels complicated, whether it's my career, friendships, or love. It all seems beyond my capabilities. Story 46. I don't know which is even worse because if I knew exactly what the problem is, I could work to solve it. Story 47. I am mostly happy, but I still have some trauma from the past that prevents me from being completely content. However, I am fairly close. Story 48. I am single, unemployed, and do not have a vehicle. There are only a few people to talk to. I used to do well, but now I feel depressed. My mom is getting older, and that is really affecting me too. Story 49. Money. At 24, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was on a promising career path in information technology. This disease humbled me, and even though I tried my hardest, I just couldn't be reliable or keep up with my peers. Multiple sclerosis diminished my abilities and continues to challenge me daily. The sad fact is that being in such a position means I will likely struggle financially for the rest of my life. Unless, by some chance, my YouTube hobby turns into a viable source of income. But that is a slim chance. Beelman's Corner is the channel. Additionally, multiple sclerosis can debilitate you while making you appear relatively healthy. As a result, people often assume I am okay, when in reality, my body feels like it is fighting me on everything I do. Being a disabled person in a society that places so much value on one's ability to work is quite depressing. That said, I am still here trying. Story 50. I do not have the money I need to ensure a decent life. It has become so challenging that I have considered not continuing. I think about this nearly every day. Story 51. I am experiencing occasional audio issues since I installed the latest Windows 11 24H2 patch. When will Microsoft address this? Story 52. One-sided relationships can make me feel like I am not good at connecting with others. I don't have friends that I feel close to, which can be lonely at times. I struggle to connect with people on a deeper level. Story 53. I have given myself the expectation to build something great in life that my family will remember long after I am gone. Whether it is wealth, a successful business, or accomplishing something significant that is discussed in history books, all of these goals are incredibly hard to achieve. However, it is ingrained in my mind that before I die, I must do something good to be remembered. Story 54. My husband decided that Mother's Day wasn't worth celebrating and did nothing for it. Then he chastised me for not cleaning, despite my having pneumonia, pleurisy, fluid in my lungs, and a high fever. Story 55. I have a lot in the way of my path to happiness. The main challenge is that my mindset is quite skilled at making me feel negative. Trying to be happy is like trying to run Mac software on a Commodore 64. Story 56. I am currently going through the worst heartbreak of my life and honestly feeling pretty defeated. This isn't just a heartbreak. It's a loss of a friend of over 6 years whom I didn't get to date. We recently experienced a traumatic event together, a school shooting, and it made me realize how deeply I love her. Not being with her and seeing her with someone else is destroying me. I'm just trying not to go numb at this point. Story 57. I have mixed feelings, which is better than some. Usually, it's due to financial issues. Sometimes, it's a desire for love again. I have recently started 3D modeling, which is my hobby. I used to use 3ds Max, and now I'm learning Blender. That has been making me happier. Story 58. Because I am almost 40 and my life is affected by post-traumatic stress disorder, I struggle with trust issues and it may take until I am 50 before I can consider dating. I want a normal family at a normal age. I want to feel young. This has been taken from me. I fear I may never achieve my dream of having a normal life, one that has not been overshadowed by childhood sexual abuse, making each moment feel like a violation. Story 59. Living in someone else's house has been challenging. My in-laws invited us to move in with them after we had our baby to help us save for a better home. It's been a year, and I still haven't adjusted. I feel like we're in the way and that we're an inconvenience, but we can't afford our own place yet. I am only here for our child. Story 60. I have an important exam in 2 days. I am well prepared. However, I stopped using drugs about a week ago to have a clear mind going into it, and I would really like to smoke some marijuana right now. So, I will have to deal with experiencing life on this planet while sober until the day after tomorrow. Story 61. There is no reason for me to be happy right now in life. The things that make me happy are being taken away from me, and my future does not look bright. All that is on the horizon for me is stress and misery. Story 62. I tend to overreact with negative emotions when something bad happens or when people are unkind. Sometimes, I feel that I am not in control of my reactions. Story 63. I recently discovered that I am very prone to laziness. It makes me a bit down, as I had always thought of myself as exceptionally diligent. Story 64. I believe happiness is subjective. It is challenging. To some extent, we all need to choose to be happy with our current situations, although outside factors can influence this. Sadness and anger are my favorite emotions because they possess more authenticity. I believe we do not control them as much. Happiness is complex. Most people are content, yet we could all be happier. Some days I feel happy with what I have, while on others I feel sad for various reasons. I am fortunate to be alive and able to afford the necessities and occasionally some desires. Life could always be better, but it could just as easily be much worse. Although I am not happy that life is not unfolding as I had always imagined, I am grateful to have the life I do have. Story 65. This past year has been incredibly challenging for me. My job was relocating, so I decided to sell my house and move. Shortly after the move, my partner of 4 years ended our relationship. We had to say goodbye to my family dog. I also got my car back from a windshield replacement, but then rolled and totaled it. My niece turned 18, left home to couch surf with her boyfriend, and abandoned her college plans. Additionally, I'm currently facing health issues that may or may not be life-threatening and could significantly alter my life. I regret selling my home and moving. I miss my ex-partner, and I just want to feel like myself again. Story 66. Constant pressure and deadlines make it feel as though failing to meet even one will ruin my life. Story 67. Depends on what you define as happy. My understanding of happiness is not envying other people's joy when I see them. As long as I do not feel envy, I know I am happy and satisfied with my life. What is your perspective? As time passes, one by one, our loved ones and good friends disappear, leaving us feeling alone. We may live a life always yearning for something. That is how I feel now, ever since losing my father on April 11, 2025. Story 68. Currently, I feel sorry and guilty for loving a person whom I respect greatly, a classmate of mine. He never expected me to fall in love, and I feel bad for letting him down. He is the nicest person, and although he didn't expect this, he said that our friendship would remain the same and he would not change his point of view. Story 69. I am 59 years old and have a lifetime of lacking self-confidence. I have never taken chances and have probably missed many opportunities. Story 70. There are many problems in my country that negatively affect me and others, and it feels like we are powerless to change anything. Story 71. I feel poor, unsuccessful, and unattractive, unable to change my circumstances. Things keep getting worse no matter what I do, and it feels genuinely hopeless. It's difficult to even pretend to be happy in these situations. Story 72. The realization that my last 2 years of traveling are probably just escapism from the life I do not want to return to but must. Story 73. She left. I have no career, no money, and my dreams remain unachieved. I see my future getting darker, but still I persevere. Story 74. I have a dull sex life. I can't be as active as I want to due to chronic pain that doctors can't diagnose. I am in a career that has strayed away from my passions. Story 75. I have no friends. Not because there is anything wrong with me, at least I don't think so, but it seems I just missed the window for forming friendships. Now I have very little social life and no one to go anywhere with or talk to. Story 76. Situations that are severely impacting my mental health keep occurring, forcing me into a constant state of burnout. Story 77. I feel like I'm missing a stepping stone in my life, and I'm stuck between unfulfilling jobs that drain my energy. It's not the job itself, but mostly the people. I can't connect with most of them. I'm an intelligent person, but my school experience was challenging due to personal circumstances. Sometimes I'm fortunate to have good colleagues, but it's unfortunate that this never lasts long. You know, when you're in a position where you have to swallow your feelings, if you react or respond similarly to others, it feels like chaos will ensue. I'm quite accommodating, but I also realize that discussions often feel pointless. This situation makes me unnecessarily paranoid and frustrated. Story 78. I'm feeling drained and empty. I can't be bothered to try to be happy. I'm just trying to survive right now. I am who I am with my desires and needs, and you are who you are. You perceive me as you do, and that is your projection. While some of it might be true, don't trust everything that has been said. Let's keep some things secret for now. Story 79. Chronic anxiety is much improved thanks to several anxiety medications, but I don't think it will ever be completely better. Story 80. I am afraid of my government and the future, and I am forced to watch my fellow human beings waste their time fighting among themselves instead of uniting to live better together. Story 81. I am concerned about the future, which causes me to feel anxious and unhappy. Story 82. I can barely afford to stay alive, and I am too exhausted from surviving to enjoy the rest. Being isolated from my family and having no friends in my city makes it really hard to do anything. Story 83. I have a variety of reasons for feeling this way. I am currently experiencing a high-stress period while working at a challenging job and attending college. My mental health, although managed with medication, is still far from great, making interactions with those close to me difficult at times. I find myself generally bored. Video games no longer engage me, and I lack the time and motivation to explore other activities aside from watching videos. While I am managing to suppress these feelings, I am extremely worried about my future. The job I aspire to will be very difficult to obtain, especially considering the 4 years of college I am still completing. Additionally, I am concerned that once I reach my goals, my circumstances will remain unchanged, except that I may be less financially constrained and lacking direction. Story 84. It is challenging to make and maintain friendships as an adult. This is particularly true today, as many individuals boast about canceling plans and avoiding texts and calls. Story 85. I feel unable to be happy no matter what. I dislike existing, so I will wish happiness to other people who can find it. Story 86. I have no friends, I am broke, and I have no hobbies. I feel like I have nothing in my life and no love except from those who feel obligated to care. It's my fault, so I will just cry about it. Story 87. Because I live in this difficult environment called Hungary with a group of frustrating individuals. I'm saving to emigrate, but it will still take years. Story 88. I never had any interest in becoming a parent, but my partner convinced me to take on that role. The negative aspects of parenting far outweigh the positive ones. Sometimes, I wish I could just run away and start fresh, but I don't want my child to suffer. It was my mistake, not my child's. I will do everything I can to ensure my child feels loved and grows up happy. Story 89. Buying a detached home for a family is very challenging, especially for millennials and younger generations. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.